This is my third time recording this video. The first time I recorded it, the background noise was too much. The second time, the mic wasn't connected, and third time is the charm. So let's see how it goes. Mm, if it does not go right this time, I'll be very very pissed, honestly. Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about my top books of 2024, my favorite books of 2024. Honestly, I read around 40 books, I think, and these are the top books, my top favorite books. There are four books, three of which are from a series, but they are three books, so I kind of said that it's a four book, but it's like a series and a standalone, so three books and one standalone. So yeah, to give you a little idea of if I had to describe all these four books in one word, it will be the forbidden romance. And if you can't tell, yes, forbidden romance is my favorite trope. So the first three books, which are from a series, they are from Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber, and the last book is A Dangerous Kind of Lady by Mia Vinci. So the first three books are from fantasy genre, and the last one is historical romance. And to be honest, I am not a very big fan of historical romances. I've watched a few C and K dramas, and yes, I liked them, I enjoyed them, but I wasn't such a big fan of historical romances. But when I tell you I devoured this book, I mean it. I was hooked. I wasn't able to keep it down, and I enjoyed every single bit of this book. So let's talk about it. So the first book of the series is Once Upon a Broken Heart, and okay, let's start with the very beginning. So there's this girl, Evangeline Fox. Her parents died when she was like quite young. Actually, her mother died when she was very young, and her father died when she got a little bit older. And I don't remember if it was her stepmother or her aunt, but she has some kind of female figure in her life, female kind of guardian, and that female guardian has a daughter. So Evangeline has a sister as well. So Evangeline is in love with a guy named Luke. His name is Luc. Luke. She's so much in love with this guy, Luke, and she is planning on getting married with him and everything. And she, every classic stepmother and aunt trope has this, that the female lead is being abused. Here as well, she is being kind of abused, and she is like, okay, when I get married to the love of my life, I can escape this life. And she is planning on everything, she is imagining, and she is so in love with this guy. But she discovers that Luke is getting married to her sister, and she believes that her sister did put some kind of spell on Luke to lure him to marry to her, her sister. And she is very heartbroken, and in that moment where she is heartbroken, she decides that she is going to go to a fate and ask him for help, which in book it is made very clear that never make a deal with a fate, because they always take more than what you're willing to give. So it's always like the give and take, like the deal with fates is like, you have, if you want to take something, you will have to give something. And you will have to give something that they want from you. It's not like you ask for something and you are like, okay, in return I will give this to you. It's not like that. They will ask something from you. So she, even after all these warnings, she decides that she is going to make deal with one of the most notorious fates, which is Prince of Hearts, Jax, who is our male lead. So she finds his temple and goes inside and looks around and looks for the Prince of Heart. And okay, the way that scene is written, it's so magical. It's like, even I like, it's shown in the book like Evangeline can't believe when she gets out of that temple. She can't believe that she just witnessed that. And It's same with, it's same with me. I'm like, I can't believe that scene just happened in that book. And it's so surreal, it's so magical that it's so hard to believe. Okay, so she makes a deal with him. He asks for 3 kisses, but the catch is that his kisses are deadly. Jack's kisses are deadly. Anyone he will kiss other than his one true love will die. And you know, it's a big spoiler, but his one true love, rejected him, and it's a whole story. If you have read the Caraval series, you already know this. But yeah, so what really happens is that she makes a deal. He asks for 3 kisses. His kisses are deadly, and the story progresses and everything. It's just very magical. Okay, if I had to say one thing about this book, it's this series is like, it's very magically beautiful. It's so beautifully written. The world, the way Stephanie Garber has created this world is so intricate and so magical. And the way, like, no shade, okay, it's my own very own opinion. It's my personal, like, it's my personal opinion and what I like. But I am not a big fan of, the fantasy romances where with fairies and everything. Okay, yes, I have a Cruel Prince series and I am very excited to read this. But at the end of the day, if you ask me what's my favorite kind of fantasy, it will be pure magic. I want to see pure magic. I don't want to see logic behind it. I just want to see paranormal creature with magic. And that's what this book delivered. That it catered to my inner teenager. It's like fairy tale for adults. It's so magical, so beautiful, and the world is so indulgent. The way Stephanie Garber has created this world, it's so indulgent. And as you're reading and reading and reading and getting more and more and more into this world, it gets harder to get out of it. You won't believe the level of bad hangover this series gave me after I finished it. For months, I could not read anything else. I just wanted to be connected to these characters, and I refused to be part from them, be apart from them. I did not wanted this series to be finished. This man legit said that it isn't a real kiss if there isn't any tongue involved. So he's an asshole, but he's a charming one. Okay, a charming one, and we love him over here. It's I was thinking, like, when I was planning this video, I was like, okay, try not to fangirl too hard over Jax. Try not to fangirl too hard over Jax. But I think it's so hard to not fangirl over him because he is just so perfect. Okay, so perfect. Okay. Jax. We need to talk about Jax. So, Jax is the definition of morally questionable character. He he will burn down a whole town and will not feel a single ounce of guilt for it. He calls her Little Fox, okay? Isn't that just so cute? I was fangirling so hard over this man. Okay, in the first book, I was so pissed. I wanted to slap him across the face because he was just so insufferable in this book. But over time, how you when you, okay, I have this syndrome that when I know that this person is the main character, I go blind. Okay, I go blind. I'm like, this man can do no wrong in my eyes, and every sin, everything he does is redeemable. But still, Jax was so insufferable. I was like, why are you hurting? Why are you hurting the one you are supposed to love? But okay, that's how story is supposed to develop. So the first book ended on a cliffhanger, and the second book after that is The Ballad of Never After. I don't know how to talk about the next 2 books without giving you spoilers for the first book. So rather than giving you, the explanation and a little outline of the blurb and a little outline of the books, I am going to tell you what I felt while reading those books, and how, like, I will try to explain it and I will try to review it best to my ability. without spoiling anything, because I really want you guys to read it. I don't want to spoil even a single bit of these books, and I really really badly want you guys to read it. And if you have read it, and if you read it after watching this video, please head over to my Instagram and let's talk, because my best friend, she does not read fantasy romances, and I have no one to talk to about these books. And I really, really want to talk about this series. This series has my whole heart. I'm still hooked on this series very much, and I really want to talk about it. So please, if you have read it and if you read it, head over to my Instagram and let's talk about this book. So in the second book, Jax is like, he would kill anyone for Evangeline. The jealousy, the tension, and everything, it's just off the charts. Okay, off the charts. Okay, and I forgot to mention one thing. In the first book, there's this dialogue that Jax says to Evangeline, that, glad to know that you're thinking about me when you're kissing your husband. This book made me feel the pain of true love, not joy, not the happiness. Whenever we are talking about true love, we are like, okay, it's so beautiful, it's so joyful, it's so lovely, and everything. We are talking about all the good things and all the flowery things, and we are always looking at true love with these rose tinted glasses. It's in our minds, at least in my mind, it's like, the true love, it's perfect, there is nothing bad in it, there is no pain in it, and when you are like in really, when you are with your true love, there'll be no difficulties in your life, which, yes, now I know that it's so childish to believe, but still somewhere a little part of me still believes that. But this book made me feel the pain of true love, when on the flip side, when there is pain, like, the love is too much but the pain is too much as well. So the pain of this book, my heart was shattered. I was sobbing in my pillow for hours. I was a mess while reading this book. I just couldn't stop crying because it was so heartbreaking. This book broke me and put me back together all at the same time. It was just so heartbreakingly beautiful. And the banter in this book, oh my god, I'm telling you. There is this dialogue that I want you guys to see. So, wait, let me grab my phone and open Goodreads. Evangeline says to Jax that, I'm not going to kill anyone, and neither are you. And to which Jax replies that, then why are we even here? This was, I know it wasn't the funniest part, but I just think it was so cute. But there are so many cute moments like this, because the banter, and honestly, their chemistry is so good that everything they do feels really, really cute and really good. It's just, when two characters fit together so perfectly that everything they do is cute and everything they do is beautiful. That's what Evangeline and Jax are. And obviously, the enemies to lovers part just makes it so much more better. Okay, so there is this dialogue that I think was the best dialogue of this series, and this is the scene and this is the dialogue that I can't get out of my head, and I think about it almost every day. Okay, I think about it every day. I This scene, I was like, I want to be there. Okay, that this was the scene that made me want to be Evangeline, and I want you guys to listen to this dialogue. It's okay. In the morning, you can forget it. You can go back to pretending you don't like me, and I can pretend that I don't care. But for tonight, let me pretend you're mine. You will understand what I'm saying and what I'm feeling when you'll read this part, because it was just so beautiful. I have another one of those, okay? Another one of these. This one, lives were changed, okay? Girly lives were changed. I think if you have seen this book on Book Talk, I'm pretty sure you have seen this particular quote, this particular dialogue, and I think it's all over Pinterest as well. So it's just like Jax says this for Evangeline, that there's nothing of equal value to me. Okay, so I think this is the one question that almost everybody has when they are starting this series, or at least I had when I was starting this series, is that, do we need to read the Caraval series before starting this one? First of all, no, you don't, because I read it, and I don't think I had any difficulty reading this series without the Caravel series. Okay, so how did I know it? I watched Haley's video about this book, about her review about this series, and she was like, she also answered this question. Like, everybody was asking her, do we need to read the Caravel series before this one? And she said, no, you don't. And she has read Caravel series, and she liked Once Upon a Broken Heart series more than Caravel. And I think I haven't read the Caravel series as well, but after reading the blurb and everything, I think this series is, personally, I think I would enjoy this series more than Caravel, and which is why I haven't which is also why I haven't read Caravel yet, because it's like Once Upon a Broken Heart has set such high standards, uh, for this writer, for Stephanie Garber, that if I'm scared that if Caraval won't meet those expectations, those standards, I will be very, very disappointed, because right now Stephanie Garber is one of my favorite writers. So I read the series without Caravel series. You can read it without reading Caravel series, but if you're like, then why some people say that you need to read the Caravel series, it's because that Caravel series has some of Jack's backstories, and if you want to dive deeper into Jack's backstory, you can read Caravel series. But if there is a question of, do I need to read it, or I'll be fine without reading the Caravel series, because I just want to read Once Upon a Broken Heart series, because that was me. I really, really wanted to read Once Upon a Broken Heart. I was so excited about it, but I did not wanted to read the Caravel. So I just jumped right into it, and I even searched about it, and Haley was right. You don't need to read the Caravel series before Once Upon a Broken Heart series. So the last book is A Curse for True Love, and this is the final book of this series. And this book was the perfect ending for this series, because it tied every loose ends together and gave us the perfect ending. I just wish that this book was longer, and we had more scenes of Eva Jack's endgame, but I was still very satisfied, and I was still very happy with how the series ended, and how everything came to conclusion. Again, I don't know how to talk about this book without giving you guys spoiler for the first two books. So I honestly don't know what to say. Okay, when you read something so good that you're so spellbound and you don't know how to explain it to the other person, but all you can say is that the book was so good. That's the place I am in. And you know what? I am going to make a video where I'm going to rant about this book. This was just the spoiler free one. There will be so many spoilers, and I'm going to, rant my heart out in another one. So if you have read it, or if you want to know more about the books, just wait for that video. Okay, so I really want to read some of the dialogues from this book as well. And this will be the part where I'm going to convince you to read the series, okay? I'm going to convince you to read the series by telling you the dialogues. Okay, so this one, okay? I'm a monster, but whether you remember it or not, I'm your monster, Evangeline. I have the whole Goodread quotes section open on my phone, and I'm just reading my favorite ones, okay? The next one is, he never understood why someone would watch another person sleep until her. Okay, the last one, it's just so beautiful to not include. He would have set the world on fire and then let it all burn just to keep holding her like this. Have you seen anything more lovely than this? Like, girl, I was dying. Okay, Okay, so now that the dramatic part is over, we are going to talk about the standalone book, which is A Dangerous Kind of Lady by Mia Vinci. Okay, so first of all, I haven't seen this book on Book Talk that much. Honestly, I haven't seen it at all, and even on Goodreads there aren't very many reviews, and I don't think it's a very popular book, but it is so good. Okay, so hear me out. So the story starts with the our girly pop, Arabella. I think her name is Arabella, but if I'm butchering her name, I'm really sorry. So what happens is that it's okay. So it's historical romance, and it's based on very, ancient England, where men were dominant and everything. So what happens is Arabella's brother dies, and she now when her brother died, so her father is like, okay, I do not have a son, you're going to get married, and when you get married you're going to inherit everything that I own, but you have to get married by a certain point, otherwise it will not be yours. Okay, the land and the territory, it won't be yours. So Arabella is trying to be the son of the family, and she is trying everything she can to, just so that she won't have to lose the memories of her brother. She has so many memories of her brother in that place, in her home, and in her land. And I don't know what, I forgot what you call it. This is what happens when English isn't your first language. Anyways, I know you get the point. So what happens is she's like, okay, I will get married. She's supposed to marry a guy, but what happens is that that guy, whose name is Guy, yes, his name is Guy runs out of the country, and he can't be found anywhere. So now Arbella has to marry another man who is an asshole. Guy, you know what? Guy was her enemy, but he was still better than this other person, because he was a little more tolerable than this person. So what happens is that Guy comes back into the country a few weeks, I think a week or so before her marriage, and she's trying to convince him that please, you need to marry me because I can't get married to that person. But what happens is that Guy hates Arabella so much that she is totally opposed to the fact of marrying her. He is like, I just cannot marry you. I will marry anyone but not you. Arabella, she is very witty, she is very smart, but at the same time, she is a very morally questionable character. And you, she is, at times she is quite insufferable, but in a good way. Okay, let's talk about it. So she is very stubborn, to say the least. She is very stubborn, and she's very set in, you know both the characters were very stubborn, and that just made this book a little bit, I was very frustrated. I was like, why won't you guys just stop? Me being a people pleaser, I was like, okay girl, it's not that big of a deal. But it also made me feel like, okay, I need to have some more respect in myself, and it gave me such a huge self reflection that I was like, okay, maybe I need to change. It's not the book, it's me. This is a reverse Grumpy Sunshine trope, and it was my first time reading it, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I was so done reading the same kind of trope with, like, the male lead is the grumpy one and the female lead is the sunshine one. And I think all these Grumpy Sunshine tropes, they all had the same kind of vibe to them, and I was just so bored of it. So when I finally read this book, it was like a breath of fresh air to me. I was so happy after reading this book. I was like, okay, this is good. This trope is really good. I wasn't into reverse Grumpy Sunshine trope, because I was like, okay, like, sunshine boys, yes, in real life, yes, but I wouldn't want to read that in a book. In book, I want strong alpha male to, walk all around, walk behind, not walk all around, walk behind the female lead. Oh gosh, I am so obsessed with that TikTok audio. That walk him like a dog, sis, walk him like a dog. and I'm just so obsessed with it, and I don't know what that says about me, but I'm just so obsessed with it. So I was like, okay, this is the kind of trope I like. But when I read this book, I was like, okay, no, I was wrong. This trope is really good, better than that one, and I was so bored of it that it was just so good. So now let's talk about Guy Roth. He is as sunshine as someone can get. He is very morally upright and leads his life with certain set of principles, and that made him quite insufferable because, like, no one can steer him away from his principles. He is like, I have to do this, I have to do this, and I have to do this, and these are the only things I'm going to focus on. No matter what happens, you cannot take my focus away from this. And the way he was paired with Arabella, he was every single day questioning his life decisions, quite literally. Was he entitled? Yes. But did he also have a heart of absolute gold? Yes. And the best part for me was that the way Guy was so set on hating our female lead, but the way the story progressed and the way their dynamic progressed, it was like so natural. The way they fell in love, the way they got attached to each other, it was so natural. There is really a strong emphasis on misogyny in this book that used to happen in that time in the world. And the way the female lead and the other side female characters stood so strongly against it was just so beautiful to see, and it was just so empowering. In like, yes, we can see today that we are all talking about feminism and everything, and we are all about female rights. But knowing that in that period of time female rights were really less, and the way women were oppressed for every single thing. And after knowing that, reading this book was very empowering to me, and it was like, yes, go girl. Arabella was, the rule breaker kind. But you can see, it wasn't like she was breaking rules mindlessly and she was just being naive. She was breaking rules that were so unnecessary, and so, now we can see that how unnecessary they were. But Arabella being in that world and breaking those rules, just, it was so empowering to read. The way Mia Vinci has created this world, the way she has written this book was so indulgent that every single page that I read, I was like, I was a part of this book. I was with these characters in that particular scene. So okay, let me explain. There was a scene where Guy was in Arabella's chamber, and in this time period of time, it's very common, because we are living with our partners and everything. But at that time, it was very scandalous. And when everything found out, I was blushing so hard because even while reading it, it felt so scandalous. It wasn't like everybody found out and the way they were reacting to it, that's why I felt scandalous. That's why it felt scandalous. But even while reading that particular scene where they were in chamber and it was so secretive, that it felt scandalous. Even reading that scene felt so scandalous. And that's the kind of book we love, okay? Because we love a book that's so indulgent that you forget that you're a reader, you feel like the character. That's how good this book was. Okay, so in all these four books, the one thing that I would say was, the one thing that was a little off-putting for me was the miscommunication trope. Oh my god, I was so frustrated. I was like, why won't you guys just talk it out? Like, dude, talk, okay? You can communicate. Half of the problems will be solved if you can only talk, but they don't talk. Because, okay, now after I've read the book and after I'm talking about the book, I totally get it that they don't talk because, yes, humans are very complex and they do things the complex way, and they don't talk. Even in our normal day-to-day life, we don't talk as much as we should. We don't communicate as much as we should with each other. So that's how it, like, the books reflected our real life back to us. And it was a little off-putting for me. It was like, why can't you guys just talk? But after reading the whole series and after reading even this book, I realized that okay, yes, it was part of the plot, and it just made plot even more rich and more realistic, because humans don't talk. Even in real life, humans don't talk. If they would have talked it out, wouldn't have it been so surreal and hard to believe and hard to relate? So yeah, now I understand it, but at that time it was a very, I was very, very frustrated with it. So that was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I am very grateful that you stuck till the end, especially because it's my first video and I am very awkward at times, and this is one of those times that I'm very awkward while I'm talking to the camera. Let me know how I did and what would you like to see next from me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and follow along for more such content. And do head over to my Instagram and let's talk about the books that you have already read and the books you would like to read next, and just let's chit chat over there and have a community. Let me know what you think about this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.